I don't want to go. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek. You're watching Kevin the Geek, and today I am completing my review of The End of Time. I'm completing my review of David Tennant's time as the 10th Doctor. I'm completing my time as completing Russell T Davies era as the initial showrunner for Doctor Who. And this has been a long journey. It really, really has. I started this journey a year ago tomorrow because this is going out on the 22nd of November, and my first review for Doctor Who that I ever did for Rose was done last year on the 23rd of November, which is the anniversary date of Doctor Who, but also my birthday. And I wanted to use that as my springboard to being able to talk about a show that has just meant so much to me over the years. But I think particularly the David Tennant era in particular was a really big part of my kind of youthful years, and so it means a lot to me to kind of round this up in pretty much a year. Obviously, I did take a little bit of break. I could have completed it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to tie this in with my anniversary of starting YouTube, with the anniversary of the show itself, with the 60th anniversary. And then I could obviously link straight into the new specials, which feature David Tennant coming back as the 14th Doctor. So I've got a lot to talk about in this episode. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe, turn on notifications, smash the like button, and please do go back and check all of my other Doctor Who and non-Doctor Who related content. In the world of Doctor Who, I've now reviewed, up to this point, every episode from Rose all the way to this episode. I have done reviews of Torchwood. I've completed all of my reviews of Torchwood now. I have done reactions to the first episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, to the first episode of Class. I've done my reaction to the first ever serial of Classic Who with An Unearthly Child. And there's loads of different stuff on the channel. I've even done various rankings of Doctor Who. There's so much you can check out, and it would really, really mean the world to me if you would go and check all of that content out, because I've put a lot of hard work into everything over this last year. Make sure you join me again tomorrow on the anniversary of Doctor Who itself, where I'm going to be ranking every single episode of the initial Russell T Davies era, and I've done that based on my rankings that I've given every episode at the end of each review, because I give every episode a score out of 100 and a grading. So stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out the one for this episode, and then tomorrow you will see me do the ranking for all 47 episodes or 47 stories from New Who in the initial Russell T Davies era. But we've got to talk about The End of Time, and this was an episode that initially I wasn't going to rewatch, because the majority of these eras, like I said, is because it was something that means a lot to me. I have watched, in particular, the David Tennant and the Matt Smith eras repeatedly, a lot more than the other Doctors of the modern era. And so, this episode in particular, I felt I had enough memories of it that I didn't really need to rewatch it. But I did. And I'm glad I did. Because over the years, I feel that I, as a person, have evolved and changed and developed. And I saw the episode in this particular instance a little bit differently than how I have in previous watches. Now, this is, of course, a swan song for David Tennant and for Russell T Davies era, and it feels that, it delivers that in spades. You know, you have, for example, at the end of the second episode, you have all of the cameos from all the various different companions that have been during the modern era. You know, you had Sarah Jane Smith, you had Captain Jack Harkness, you had Martha, Mickey, Rose, Jackie even cropped up, you know. I will say of those, I did find that they were pretty well done. I don't personally agree with the Martha and Mickey getting married thing, because that just seemed to come as a bolt out of the blue. And, you know, their first interactions were realistically in The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. And even in that, they had very little communication with each other. So, you know, it's a minor thing, but I didn't personally like that, you know, for my own personal taste. And again, you may always disagree with me, and I'm happy if you do disagree with me. You know, feel free to pop it in the comments down below if you disagree with anything I say. Just always remember, please keep it nice and civil. At times, I feel that these two episodes were a little bit overindulgent. But is that necessarily a bad thing? No, not necessarily. I think it depends on your personal taste. At the time when I first watched this, I was very emotionally invested in it. And there was a lot of stuff that I teared up at. You know, for example, the moment that, you know, Wilf knocks on the glass door and it's revealed that this is the end for the 10th Doctor. This is the prophecy that was foretold, and this was going to mark the end of the time of the 10th Doctor. I'm not going to lie, that whole scene with the Doctor, it was incredibly emotional. On this rewatch, I don't know. Maybe I've got a bit harder in my old age, or sort of mid ages, but I didn't like it as much in this rewatch. And I think the biggest thing for me with it that didn't really appeal as such is the whiningness of the Doctor, if that makes sense. You know, when he's going, it's not fair. I could have done so much more, so much more. You know, just yeah, there's just something didn't click with me on this particular rewatch. I definitely have found it really emotional in the past. Don't get me wrong. And again, with all the stuff at the end, like the actual regeneration scene itself, I didn't really connect with it on this occasion. Is that because I've seen some of these things so much that I've just kind of become immune to it in a way? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, the one that did still get me emotionally was that really touching moment where they paid tribute to Donna's father. Of course, you know, he sadly passed away in real life during the kind of filming for series 4, which prompted them bringing Wilf in to be Donna's grandfather. You know, when that whole bit, when he's like, I popped back in time, borrowed a quid off a lovely man, you know, his name was Jeffrey Noble, that again brought a tear to my eye, because that felt truly heartfelt for me. And maybe that's just the other bits. It's either I'm immune to it or it just didn't feel earned on this occasion. Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. You know, we can all change and develop as people. You know, I don't think any of us will react to things in the same way that we have done in the past. Like, I remember growing up watching Little Britain and finding that absolutely hilarious, and it was, yeah, I was wetting myself with laughter. I rewatched a couple of sketches recently, not for the channel, just for my own personal kind of data bank, if you like. And this time, I just found it cringy and I didn't enjoy it. And again, you know, maybe that's just a sign of me evolving as a person. The same way that the Doctor has evolved as a person over these years, because he wasn't necessarily this emotional in the early days of his time. You know, if you think back to his early adventures with Rose, he wasn't this, you know, emotional. But he has become much more human in this series. And I think that is really on display here. You know, the whole scene that he has with Wilf in the cafe, which I put in my list of my top 10 moments with the 10th Doctor. If you haven't seen that ranking, go back and check that one out, as well as my ranking for the best moments with Donna Noble. I feel that that scene summed up the 10th Doctor the most. That he can just be there with this, by his standards, young man, but by Wilf's standards, old man. They are just sat together and they can talk about the lives that they've led. They can talk about, their impending deaths because, both of them in their relative timelines, they are, close to their final years. And it's that connection that he has with Wilf in this episode that I think really does save it. They have a wonderful connection, and there's a lot of silly comedy moments between them, and there's a lot of much more deeper, heartfelt moments, which I really do like between them. Particularly, that scene in the cafe, and then the one that they have on the spaceship when it's just the two of them before we reveal, who's coming back to the Doctor. Now, the story as in of itself was okay. Now, I won't say it was one of the best stories. It had a lot of shock moments and it relied on the emotion to pull you through. And if you take the emotional side of it and you try and switch off your emotional brain, it's not like amazing. It is good and it is solid, but it's not amazing. When I was watching it for the first time, and you of course have this narrator talking over the top, firstly I was thinking, why are we having a narrator? And then, holy crap, why have we got Timothy Dalton narrating this episode and not being seen? And so I'm just thinking, that is an incredible actor and a very esteemed actor to have. Why are we limiting him to a narration role? Then he gets seen. Then you have the big reveal at the end of the episode that is about the Time Lords. And that ending to that first part is so shocking. You have the standard kind of cliffhanger moment where the Master, he's kind of taking all the humans and their heads, spin and they all become the Master. I will say the special effects on that was pretty good because they wasted a lot of special effects budgets, I think, in this one for the Master, which I'll come back to shortly. But yeah, that bit looked pretty good, and it was done through simple camera stuff where you have basically him, just moving his head backwards and forwards, and they sped up the footage like exponentially so that you get this blurry kind of look, and then you just have that kind of shifting between the two. That was good. That was really good. And the amount of green screen, John Sims, he would have had to have done so much in this because he filmed every bit of those stuff. He had so many green screen stuff. He had to change so many different costumes to get it. So fair props to him for that. But then you have, you think about it, you're like, this is probably going to get reversed. It's interesting, but it's not especially gripping. This kind of conclusion to this first part. Then you have the reveal that you've got Timothy Dalton as a Time Lord. You've got this council of Time Lords, it would appear, and they're talking about the Time Lords returning for the end of time. That was a twist ending that I did not foresee coming. And that was a mark of a good cliffhanger. Something that you don't expect to see. Something that makes you question what is happening and what the plan and the purpose is going to be. Because there's been a lot of cliffhangers over the years, and you'll have some which are just like, yes, it's just like setting up a problem, and the Doctor's probably going to get out of it relatively easily in the start of the next episode. The most notable one that comes to mind for me is the initial Cybermen two-parter, Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel. And it is something that, at times you just think, be a little bit cleverer with your cliffhangers. This one was. It was very clever because for all the time of Russell T Davies era, to explain the gap in the continuity, he invented the Time War. And we've heard a lot about the Time War, but this is the first time we've seen the Time Lords properly. Now, we've had like little glimpses in like flashbacks, for example, in Sound of Drums and The Last of the Time Lords, but this is the first time we actually see them. And then when you get into the next part of it, when the Doctor gets informed that it is the Time Lords coming back, you're thinking, yeah, this is good. And then you see the expression on his face, and he basically talks about that they're, at this point in their existence, they are amongst the worst things that have ever existed. Worse than the Daleks, worse than Sontarans, Weeping Angels. Yeah, every enemy you've ever encountered, it's worse. It's the worst of the worst. And that puts you on tenterhooks for the ending of this episode. The actual end kind of bit, that kind of revolving bit with the gun and everything and everything. Again, on this rewatch, something felt off for me. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But I do remember the feelings that I first saw it. And the tenseness that I was feeling in it. I was thinking, holy shit, what is going on? I just couldn't do it. And again, is this because I've seen it so much? Is it because I have, kind of just grown beyond this point at this moment in time? Maybe. I don't know. But this is the great thing with doing some of these reviews. I can appreciate some of the things I felt the initial time, and I can, appreciate the things I'm feeling now. Because there's been episodes that I've reviewed that have actually scored better than I really remembered them being, and that was, something that has just grown and improved over time. This one, I wouldn't say it's like got worse over time, but it's just my tastes have somewhat changed a little bit. But I think it was done cleverly because I was worried that they were bringing Donna back into this, and I was thinking, are they gonna undo all the good stuff they did in the series 4 finale? And luckily, they handled it just about right for me in this particular instance. I am just as similarly apprehensive and nervous about Donna coming back into the specials that are coming out obviously later this weekend, which I am going to react to. I will do a reaction. It won't be until next week because I go away on a little break for my birthday slash like a Christmas market. So I am going to miss the actual air date of it. So the moment I get back on Monday, I will be recording it, and it'll probably go out next Wednesday. But yeah, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous. I am going to make a prediction here based from this episode, because you have the classic final line of David Tennant's Doctor being, "I don't want to go," and they made sure they repeated it when he came back for the 50th anniversary. He repeated the "I don't want to go." I have a feeling that they are going to undo the Time Lord consciousness thing for Donna, so that she's going to get her memories back by the end of the 3 specials. But I think she will retain the memories that she's gained, in those in-betweening years when she got married to Sean and has clearly had a child together. And so I feel that it's going to be like their time and their journey has come full circle and it's completed it. And maybe they're going to go down the route of saying, this is why the Doctor has regenerated into the form of the 10th Doctor, so that he can undo and save Donna one final time to get her memories back, to make her completely safe. And therefore, when the time comes to his regeneration, I feel that they're going to come out with the line, "I am ready to go." Or some kind of variation upon that. That's my only prediction I've been making for the 60th anniversary specials. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to the ride. But overall, this is a solid, good episode. It doesn't, I feel, rank quite as high as some of the ones I've scored incredibly high, but it is still a high-scoring episode. So, again, if you've never seen any of my reviews before, I do 10 categories, and I give each category a score out of 10, which gives me my overall score out of 100, which gives me my final grading for the episode. So, tomorrow I will be scoring and ranking all of the episodes based on these criteria. There are going to be some that tie with each other, which I will probably end up choosing personally based on my own personal preference which one ranks higher in those ones that tie. But otherwise, they will be scored by these rankings that I have given in these videos. So, here are my scores for the end of time. And so, the end of time has scored 83 marks out of 100, which means that it is an A-graded episode. What are your thoughts to the end of time? Did you feel that it delivered emotionally on everything you would have wished for? Or did you feel that it was maybe a little bit overindulgent at times and relied a little bit too much on the sentimentality? Whatever your thoughts are, drop your comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you turn on notifications so you can see when all the videos go live. I've got playlists that are dedicated to all the various different things on the channel, particularly a lot that are for my Doctor Who rankings, for my Doctor Who reviews, for my Doctor Who reactions, loads of different stuff on the channel. But that is going to do it for today's review. I thank you so much for joining me on this journey. But for today, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.